So you've said yes, and you're about to step in and become your church's volunteer youth worker. You probably have a ton of questions and are looking for answers. Well, today we're going to hopefully give you some resources that are going to help provide some answers. This is the Youth Worker Daily. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Youth Worker Daily, where we hope to encourage youth workers just like you with tools, tips, resources, and helps so that you thrive in your ministry. My name is Jay Hyam, and this week here on the Youth Worker Daily, we have been celebrating volunteer youth workers. Whether you are the volunteer youth worker who is in charge of your church's youth ministry, or you are a volunteer who serves on a team with a number of other folks to bless and love on your students. We are offering, our gratitude. We're saying thank you for stepping up and doing what you do as volunteers. But we're also hoping to encourage you by offering you some resources and some tools and some tips to help you as you focus on what it looks like for you to be a volunteer youth worker. Hopefully, if you are a volunteer working with a team, whoever is in charge or whoever is in lead of your ministry, hopefully they are resourcing you well. And if not, that's okay. There's plenty of resources out there for you. We're going to talk about some of them today. But really for today, I'm going to focus more on the volunteer youth worker who is actually the one who will be leading the student ministry. Doesn't matter how you found yourself in this position, you are here. And as I said in the opening teaser, you probably have questions and you're looking for resources and helps to figure out what it looks like for you to do student ministry as a volunteer. Now, what I want to do today, and probably over the course of maybe the next couple episodes, because as I was putting this together, I quickly realized there's no way we're going to cover all of the information that I want to cover in under 15 minutes. Our goal is to keep these videos around 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes. Sometimes we go a little closer to 15. We really try hard not to go over that 12-minute mark, with our goal being 10. And so as I put together the materials for this episode, it quickly added up to be probably worth about 3 episodes. So what I want to do today is really just focus in on some books that are going to help you as a volunteer youth worker. Learn and understand what your role is, and then help you to create, format, build, launch, prepare a ministry that is going to help you win in your ministry. And so what I'm going to do is just go over a few books today, and then later on I want to share some websites and some podcasts that I think will be super helpful for you as we think about student ministry. So for today, I want to talk about just a few books. Now, I don't have all of the books on hand because we are in quarantine and a lot of my books are at my office. And as you can see, I'm here in our garage. So I don't have my full library here, but I do want to go over some of the books that I have here. And then I'm going to point you to some of the books that I've come up with on Amazon. Now, I'm going to not go into great detail. I'm going to give you a few pointers about each book, why I think they'd be helpful for you, and then I'm going to point you in the direction of where you can get some of these books. And also at the end of this, I'll tell you how to get to the website, where I've also added all of these as a short write-up and then some links for you to find them. So first off, let me get started here with what I consider to be my top 5. Now, a while back, I think it was in the fall of 2019, I did a 5-part series where I talked about my top 5 books. You can see the links for all 5 of those episodes down below in the description, but I have all 5 of them here. And I'll tell you why these are my top 5. First off, let me tell you what they are, and they're in no particular order this time, so just hear me out here. First one, if you are starting in student ministry, these are the top 5 books that I recommend for all and any youth worker who is beginning their ministry. Whether they've graduated from college and they're starting their first full-time job, or whether you're a volunteer. These 5 books, in my mind, become some of the essential reads for you to have a successful ministry. So, what are they? Well, they are, first off, my all-time favorite. I actually have my all-time favorite. It's this one here, The Purpose-Driven Youth Ministry by Doug Fields. It now looks like this. This is why I brought this one. This is the new cover, how it looks now. But this right here really is, for me, this is my youth ministry Bible. Even though it was written way back when, I think Doug was just a kid when he wrote this one, this still has a ton of practical tools and helps it'll help you understand ministry, and it'll help you to explain your ministry as you recruit leaders, as you build teams, as you deal with parents, as you create your target audience of students that you want to reach. This book right here really does give you all of the tools to start off in a great and healthy way. The Purpose-Driven Youth Ministry, old version, new version, that's one of my top 5s. The next thing I want to go to is My First 2 Years, also by Doug Fields. Another great resource if you're just starting out in ministry, particularly if you're in your early first or second, or even say the 3rd year. This is a great resource because it'll really help you think through and walk you through your first 2 years, as it says. And a lot of practical stuff in this one as well. Quick, easy read. You'll want to pick this up and read that. Next, in my top 5, Mark DeVries from Ministry Architects put this one out. This is the Sustainable Youth Ministry. Love this book. Super, super helpful. It's actually a book that I recommend that if you're the youth worker, you also read this with maybe your pastor or your leadership team, because this really kind of breaks down what it looks like to have a healthy, sustainable youth ministry that is not built on a person or a personality, but on the vision and the mission of the church. You can see here, I have torn this book apart as far as reading it and notes and highlights and all the tabs that I have in here. This is when I'm teaching this to my leaders, when I'm teaching it to other people. This is the go-to. All right, and then 2 other books, and then I go to these because they're probably one of the better ministry books for youth workers, especially those who are working in middle school ministry. So if you're a youth worker, a volunteer youth worker dealing with middle school, these next 2 books are going to be the books that you're going to want to see. First off, let me hit this one. This is Middle School Ministry. This is Mark Ostreicher and Scott Rubin. Super, super, super helpful. If you ever wonder why middle schoolers are the way they are, this will break it down. It'll explain it. You'll understand it, and you're going to fall in love with your middle schoolers after you read this book. Mark does a great job. Mark and Scott share from their experiences, but they also go into the science and all of the work and the mind stuff, the brain stuff, the physiological stuff, all of it they break down to help us understand what's really going on in those transitional years for middle school students. You're going to want this book. Super helpful. You're gonna want to pick this one up. And then the final one for my top 5 is from my friends Justin Herman and Kurt Johnston. Controlled Chaos. It is an absolute essential read for middle school youth workers that you just go through, help you understand middle school ministry, and it'll help you really craft a healthy middle school ministry while you're thinking about and remembering what it was like for you to be in middle school. Another great resource. Justin and Kurt, I think mostly Justin now, continues to do the Controlled Chaos podcast, which is one of our partners, and we continue to support and promote the podcast. In fact, when we get to the podcast portion of this, he'll be one of the podcasts that we're going to encourage for you to go ahead and look at. All right, so those are my top 5s. Now, Along with the top fives, there are a couple other resources I have come up with. I got on internet and I started searching for volunteer youth ministry resources that are really for the volunteer. And there's another series I want to point out, and I will be completely open and honest, have not read these series yet. They're a little older, but in kind of doing some research, I think these would be great tools for you to look at. This is a series that was put together by Mark Oestreicher. And basically the series is called A Volunteer Youth Workers, and then it's whatever the topic is. So there are 3 books. A Volunteer Youth Worker's Guide to Understanding Today's Teenager, a Volunteer Youth Worker's Guide to Resourcing Parents, and then a Volunteer Youth Worker's Guide to Leading a Small Group. These books are short, 64 pages. They were published by Barefoot Ministries back in 2013. And really, they're just quick reads. But from what I've looked into these books and what I've learned from them is that they are super helpful and practical for you as a volunteer youth worker to really hit 3 topics that we can often struggle with as youth workers. The first one being just to understand the teenager's mind. And I have a feeling that once you get into this book, you're going to get into some of the physiological things that are happening in a teenager as they go through puberty and adolescence and the different changes that are taking place. It's going to help you understand why they think the way they think, why they do what they do, and it'll walk you through processing how you can engage them in ways that are good and healthy. The book Resourcing Parents is another great read simply because a lot of us have a hard time learning how to intentionally engage and communicate with parents. As a youth worker going into 30-some years of doing this, it is still one of the things that I continually work to improve. And not only am I a youth worker, but I'm also a parent. And so I try extra hard to make sure that I am communicating and being as intentional as I possibly can when it comes to resourcing my parents. The other thing I like about this book is that it has a real focus on not just the student when we think about student ministry, but also the family, because one of the philosophies for me when it comes to thinking about student ministry is the connection that we have to have in doing family ministry. We need to minister to the family just as much as we are focusing on ministering to the student. And this book is going to help draw those 2 worlds together so that while we're focusing on students, that family ministry isn't falling through the cracks. And then the last one is the Leading Small Groups. And I think this is going to be helpful because depending on where you are, there's a lot of do we do small groups? Do we not do small groups? If you're at a church that focuses heavily in the value of small groups, you're going to be forced or you're going to be pushed to kind of think about what do small groups look like for students. If you're in a church that doesn't really value or recognize the importance of small groups for whatever reason, this book is going to help you look at both sides of this so that you're getting, here's how I launch my small groups, and then here is why I need small groups. For me, small groups are super important. I kind of sit in the same place that Mark sits, where when you create a small group, you're really creating a safe place for your students, a place for them to come and have community, but also have the ability to share and to ask questions and to really openly deal with struggles that they're having as they go through the teenage years. And as you think about what your ministry is going to look like, you're going to want to have those small groups as part of your arsenal for your ministry to students. So those are 3 books that Mark Oestreicher has put together. Again, Barefoot Ministries of Kansas City, published back in 2013. They are available on Amazon, but right now the supply for them is very low. They're only like $7.99 in paperback. A couple of them are on Kindle for $1 or $2 less. I'm actually going to be picking up the Kindle versions to read them, so I have that as part of my library, but you're going to want to check those things out. Now, with those books, and we're already approaching the 15-minute mark here as we roll through this, but a few more books that I want to just draw to your attention. I have them written down here. One of them is Help, I'm a Volunteer Youth Worker. It's another book that Doug put out. Again, helpful, practical resources and ideas and thoughts for the volunteer youth worker. Another real short read. I think this is only like maybe 90 some pages. It's another older book, and I'm pretty sure you can grab this on Amazon, but we'll have links to it in the blog post that will go with this vlog in just a few minutes. You'll be able to check that out. So here's another one. Help, I'm a volunteer youth worker. 50 easy tips to help you succeed with kids. Great resource. I did read this one many years ago. Super helpful. A newer book that has actually been recommended to me. It's written by a Young Life guy, and because my wife is involved with Young Life Capernaum, it's been one of the suggested resources that we've been given to consider. It's called Alongside. It's written by Drew Hill, and from what I have been told about this book, and I'm just starting this one, is that it really kind of lays out what it looks like for us to walk alongside students. And so as I think about volunteer youth workers and having resources for you so that you can come alongside of students, this is one of the ones that I wanted to throw in there for you. And I will create a link for this in our list and you can pick that up. Now, some of the other books that I have kind of looked for and I'm familiar with, you've got the Jesus-Centered Youth Ministry Guide for Volunteers. Now, I have read the Jesus-Centered Youth Ministry and the Jesus-Centered Life. All of those books are by Rick Lawrence. Rick's a good friend of mine. We used to work together a little bit with the Simply Youth Ministry Conference. I've gotten to know Rick, love his ministry and his passion. And I love his books, The Jesus-Centered Life and The Jesus-Centered Youth Ministry. Both are great resources that I have read and have been able to use with my students. But there is also the Youth Ministry Guide for Volunteers. You're going to want to look for that, so we'll have a link for that. And then coming up, there is a volunteer field guide to youth ministry. That is a book that I'm not as familiar with, but because it's focusing on volunteers, you're going to want to check that one out. And then we have a couple other ones here. The Volunteers Back Pocket Guide to Events, Retreats. You're going to want to look at that one because if you're putting together different things for your student ministry, this will be a great resource to help you think through what it looks like to plan an event, put together a retreat, and do the things that we do with our students in student ministry. And then lastly, we'll throw out one more title for you, and that is 99 Thoughts for the Volunteer Youth Worker. We'll have that one as well. You want to check that one out. The 99 Thoughts series is a great series, comes from a couple different titles. This one is specifically for the volunteer youth worker. You're going to check that out. Simple, easy read, but again, you're going to find practical tips and tools that will help you connect with students, okay? So, a lot of information. We were really, really fast. I ran through a number of titles. I know you're probably like, wow, that was like the fastest I've heard you speak ever in a video. Yeah, it probably is one of the fastest because I'm trying to squeeze all of this in. Now you understand why we're going to have 2 other videos that follow. But here's what we're going to do. If you missed any of what I just said about any of the books, obviously go back and listen to the video again, or in the description below, there's going to be a link to the blog post that will be the companion for this episode. And in it, you will see all of the titles that I've mentioned, plus links where you can pick them up on Amazon. And I will let you know from me to you, those links are going to be affiliate links. And we do partner with Amazon for all of our books and resources, simply because when you order those resources through the youthworkerdaily.com, we actually get a percentage of the sale at no additional cost to you. So it's not like they're adding on any more money. You get the price, and that's what you get. That's what you pay. We get a small percentage of that afterwards. And what that does is that just goes to help us continue to keep the blog active. And as we look into doing more things with video and even a podcast down the road, those resources are going to help us to continue to build this ministry. So thank you in advance if you do order. We really, really appreciate it. Okay, so let me wrap this up because this is super, super long. Thanks as always, guys, for watching. We're super excited you took the time to watch today's vlog. Hopefully these titles are good resources for you. If you ever have have any questions about any of them, hit me up. Leave a comment in the comment section below, or email me with the links on our website. Love to talk with you about this. Share some of my experiences with these titles and with the authors, because most of these authors, except for Mark, I think I know all of them except for Mark. So, love to chat with you about all of that. All right, website, theyouthworkerdaily.com. Make sure you're checking that out. Plenty more resources there for you, and a number of other titles. If you're not a volunteer youth worker, you are in it full-time or part-time, I do have a ton of resources there for you as well. Go and check that out. All right, and then lastly, follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're there, we're posting, and we're sharing some of the great ideas that we've seen. I'm actually putting together a video with some great COVID resources. That's probably going to air next week. But as I look at what other youth workers are doing, finding some great ideas, that's the true value of social media right now. All the things we get to share and learn from each other. So hey, share your ideas, and when we find something that we think is just awesome, we're gonna pass it on to other youth workers so that they can benefit from what you already know. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow right here on the Youth Worker Daily.